The dispatcher's voice, a calm island in a sea of panic, tried to anchor the caller. Knox County 911. It was September 14th, 2019, a date that would forever be seared into the memory of then 36-year-old Robin Hoington. Her voice, frantic and breathless, crackled over the line. Her 5-year-old daughter, Destiny Oliver, had been shot. "Who did it?" the dispatcher pressed. Robin's answer was immediate, painting a picture of sudden, inexplicable violence. A black man, clad in a black shirt, had simply walked up to their door on Balsam Drive in Knoxville, Tennessee, entered their home, and fired. "It's in her chest," Robin cried, her words tumbling out. "Oh my God, what do I need to do?" As police and EMS raced to the scene, they found a grim tableau. Little Destiny lay on the living room couch, bleeding from a gunshot wound. Her mother, Robin, was beside her, strangely, on her phone. The home, which just hours before had likely echoed with a child's laughter, was now a nascent crime scene. Paramedics worked quickly, stabilizing Destiny as best they could for the urgent trip to the University of Tennessee Medical Center. Robin followed in a police vehicle, the flashing lights a stark contrast to the ordinary evening it had been. But the hope that flickered during that desperate ride was extinguished at the hospital. Destiny Jariah Oliver, a sweet and happy little girl who loved pink, swimming, and getting her nails done, was pronounced dead. The single bullet had pierced her hand, possibly a defensive wound as she held the TV remote, before entering her chest. She had been sitting on the couch with her 2-year-old brother Gavin watching Netflix. From the outset, investigators on the scene felt a disquieting sense of unease. Robin's initial account to the first responding officers mirrored her 911 call. They had just returned from the park. She was cooking dinner while Destiny and Gavin watched TV. Suddenly, a strange man was in their home. "He just came in here," she told an officer. "I don't know who he is. I've never seen him in my life." She claimed she didn't even realize he was inside until it was too late. He fired, his eyes wide with surprise as Destiny went limp, then fled in a black Chrysler 300 with dark-tinted windows. But seasoned detectives know that random motiveless attacks like this are rare. Why would an intruder shoot a 5-year-old and leave an adult witness untouched? The narrative felt thin, and Robin's demeanor, described by one officer as not typical for a grieving mother, began to raise silent alarms. While she was visibly upset, her reactions and focus seemed off-kilter to those tasked with piecing together the tragedy. The hunt for a phantom shooter in a black Chrysler began, but already, the shadow of doubt was falling squarely on the only adult present when Destiny was killed. The sterile environment of the hospital became the next stage for unfolding drama. While doctors fought to save Destiny and ultimately delivered the devastating news, Robin Hoington's behavior continued to pique investigators' concerns. She was on her phone in the police cruiser en route to the hospital, and once there, asked to use the restroom. It was in that bathroom that she approached a stranger, reportedly offering money if the woman would take her cell phone. The stranger refused. Cornered, Robin then ran the phone under a faucet, a clear attempt to destroy potential evidence. Detectives later confirmed this with the woman, who stated Robin explicitly said she didn't want the police to have it. When confronted, Robin's phone was indeed soaking wet. This act, more than anything, signaled to investigators that she was hiding something significant. The initial formal interview began with detectives attempting to build rapport, assuring Robin they weren't interested in minor offenses. "We are not the drug police," one investigator stated. "I don't give a fuck if you're selling 10 pounds of weed a week. I don't care." But Robin remained defensive, evasive. She claimed a past sexual assault by a police officer in Tri-Cities had left her traumatized and deeply mistrustful of law enforcement. When pressed about the waterlogged phone, she insisted she was afraid of being arrested for selling marijuana. Investigators reiterated that their sole focus was finding Destiny's killer. "Your daughter is dead," an officer said, his voice laced with frustration. "And you don't want to tell us who killed your child? Lord have mercy. Do you have a heart? Do you have a soul?" Her lack of cooperation, her focus on her own potential, minor legal troubles in the face of her daughter's murder, was baffling and deeply suspicious. As the questioning continued, Robin's story began to morph. The random black intruder narrative started to fray. She admitted that she and her current boyfriend, Daniel Callie Hensley, sold not only marijuana, but also pills. Perhaps, she theorized, the shooter was an associate of theirs, or even someone connected to Destiny's father, Antoine Oliver. This was the first significant deviation from her initial, unwavering account. Investigators, sensing an opening or perhaps testing a theory based on known background, began to probe her relationship with Antoine. They knew the couple had a volatile history, marked by domestic violence allegations from both sides. Robin confirmed this, stating, "He's very violent, yes, extremely violent." She claimed Destiny was scared of him. Then, with prompting from the investigators, Robin's story took a dramatic turn. They suggested that perhaps Antoine had come to the house. An argument ensued, and in a rage meant for Robin, he accidentally shot their daughter. "I feel like it's her dad," an investigator said, "and I feel like you don't want to tell us that. I don't think he intended to kill the little girl." Robin seized this narrative. "You're right. I'm done. I can't do it," she exclaimed, as if a heavy burden had been lifted. "I know that he killed her, but I just don't feel like he did it on purpose. I feel like he was trying to kill me." She described an argument, Antoine pointing the gun at her, and Destiny being caught in the crossfire. He then fled, she claimed, in his white Chrysler 300, a detail conveniently altered from the black Chrysler she'd initially reported. To solidify this new account, police presented her with a photo lineup that included Antoine. Robin picked him out, circling his picture as the man who shot Destiny. The investigation, it seemed, had a prime suspect, but the ground beneath this new story was already proving to be unstable. While Robin Hoington was spinning her tale of Antoine Oliver's accidental filicide, a critical piece of physical evidence was discovered back at the Balsam Drive home. Officers conducting a thorough search found a gun, not inside where the shooting supposedly occurred, but lying in a bush under the air conditioner outside the house. This discovery immediately cast further doubt on Robin's evolving narratives. If Antoine had shot Destiny and fled, why would he discard the weapon in Robin's yard? And more specifically, why would her gun be there, as it was later determined to be? The investigation took an even sharper turn with the acquisition of surveillance footage from a neighbor's Ring doorbell. The video provided a damning, time-stamped visual that directly contradicted Robin's claims. At 8:42 p.m. on the night of the shooting, the footage clearly showed Robin Hoington emerging from her house. She walked to the side of the house towards the bushes where the gun was later found, and appeared to discard something. This was a full 8 minutes before the time she claimed the mysterious intruder, or later Antoine, had shot Destiny, and crucially, more than 10 minutes before the 911 call was logged at 8:53 p.m. The video also captured another detail. At 8:46 p.m., just after Robin and her children returned from the park, an individual exited a car parked outside her house, entered the home, and left a mere 63 seconds later, suggesting a quick transaction, possibly drug-related, occurring minutes before the fatal event. Then, a minute after this person left, Robin was seen going outside to move her car and smoke a cigarette, returning inside just 3 minutes before the 911 call. Confronted with the irrefutable video evidence of her hiding the gun, Robin's story crumbled further. She finally admitted the weapon found in the bushes was hers, not Daniel's, as she had previously implied. Her explanation for stashing it outside? She didn't want to be charged with having a gun because she believed it was illegal. When asked directly if that was the murder weapon, she confirmed it was, adding cryptically, "And he wiped it off," initially still trying to implicate Antoine. But then, in perhaps the most shocking pivot yet, Robin abandoned the Antoine as the shooter narrative entirely. With her credibility in tatters, she unleashed a new, horrifying claim. It wasn't a random intruder, nor was it Destiny's father. According to Robin, the person who had pulled the trigger and killed 5-year-old Destiny was her 2-year-old son, Gavin. "Gavin got a hold of the gun," she stated. "So I'm just going to tell the truth." This bombshell accusation Shifting the blame to a toddler sent the investigation spiraling in yet another direction, forcing detectives to consider an almost unthinkable scenario while trying to untangle the web of lies Robin had meticulously, yet ineptly, woven. The police had gone from hunting a phantom killer to suspecting an abusive ex, to now grappling with the assertion that a 2-year-old child was responsible for his sister's death, all based on the ever-changing words of a mother whose actions screamed deception. The "Gavin did it" story, while shocking, was immediately subjected to intense scrutiny by investigators. Robin's explanation was that her 2-year-old son must have retrieved her gun from a black bag on the top shelf of her bedroom closet. To accomplish this feat, she claimed, the toddler would have had to drag a stool from the living room, position it in front of the closet, climb up, reach the high shelf, and open the bag. This sequence of events struck detectives as highly improbable. To test the plausibility of this claim, law enforcement conducted a walkthrough of the home with Robin Hoington. It was a rare investigative step, but crucial in this instance. During the walkthrough, an investigator brought the stool to the closet in question. Even as a grown man, he had to reach up to access the top shelf. It became demonstrably clear. There was no way a 2-year-old, even on a stool, could have reached the gun if it were stored as Robin described. Furthermore, the stool itself was found in the kitchen, not near the bedroom closet, adding another layer of inconsistency to her account. Forensic analysis and expert opinion further undermined Robin's new narrative. While a forensic expert conceded that, under certain circumstances, a 2-year-old could theoretically pull a trigger if a gun was loaded and the safety was off, the likelihood of Gavin aiming and firing the weapon effectively without injuring himself from the recoil was incredibly low. Most accidental firearm incidents involving very young children result in self-inflicted wounds due to their lack of strength and control. Crucially, gunshot residue, GSR tests, came back positive for both Robin's dress and Gavin's clothing. This indicated that both of them were in close proximity to the firearm when it was discharged, directly contradicting Robin's later version of the "Gavin did it" story, where she claimed to be outside smoking when she saw a flash of light through the glass door. The most damning piece of evidence against Robin's desperate attempt to blame her toddler came from her own actions. Investigators managed to recover a text message she had sent from the hospital shortly after Destiny's death to an acquaintance. The message read, "Go to my house the back way and get my gun out of the bush under the air conditioner. Gavin shot Destiny. Then come to UT, and I got you for free. The police are there, but if you park in the alley and walk up, you're good because they are in the house." This text, which authorities believed was the reason she'd tried to destroy her phone, showed she was constructing the "Gavin did it" narrative almost immediately, even as she was telling police entirely different stories. Confronted with these mounting inconsistencies, Robin admitted to wiping down the firearm to remove prints and rearranging items in the house, including the black purse and the stool, to make the scene appear normal. She claimed all these actions were to protect Gavin so he wouldn't have to live with the guilt. Her story about how Gavin shot Destiny also continued to shift. First, she said it happened while Antoine was at the house and they were arguing, a scenario proven false as Antoine wasn't present. Then it became that she was outside when she saw the flash. Each iteration seemed designed to fit new evidence as it was presented to her, rather than reflecting a consistent truth. The tangled web of deceit finally led to formal charges. On September 16, 2019, Robin Hoington was arrested and charged with felony murder, aggravated child neglect, making a false report, tampering with evidence, and attempted tampering with evidence. Just days later, however, on September 18th, she posted a $20,000 bond and was released, remaining free until her trial nearly 5 years later. In March 2024, nearly 5 long years after Destiny Oliver's tragic death, Robin Hoington, now 41, finally faced a jury. The prosecution's case centered on what they characterized as Robin's calculated pattern of lies, her consistent efforts to mislead investigators and tamper with evidence, and the profound criminal negligence that led to her daughter's death, regardless of whose hand was ultimately on the trigger. Assistant District Attorney Leland Price methodically laid out the timeline of Robin's shifting stories, from the phantom intruder to Antoine Oliver, And finally, to 2-year-old Gavin. He emphasized the damning surveillance footage showing her hiding the gun minutes before she claimed the shooting occurred, and the critical delay of nearly 4 minutes between when she testified she saw the flash of light, her final version of events, and when she actually called 911. The gunshot residue on her clothing was also a key point, undermining her claim of being outside when the gun fired. Throughout all of the defendant's inconsistencies, the prosecution argued in closing, there's one inconsistency. Not once did she take responsibility. Ladies and gentlemen, that tells you everything you need to know. The defense, led by attorney Mike Whalen, attempted to paint Robin Hoington as a deeply flawed but ultimately tragic figure, a mother suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder due to a prior sexual assault. They argued that her inconsistent statements were not evidence of guilt, but rather the product of a traumatized mind operating under extreme duress, not in a rational state. Her actions, they claimed, were desperate attempts to protect her young son, Gavin, from the horrifying reality that he might have accidentally killed his sister. If you were in her position, would you be making rational decisions at that point? Whalen asked the jury. She made up that other story to protect Gavin so he wouldn't have to live with this. Robin Hoington herself took the stand in her own defense, a risky move that could either sway the jury or seal her fate. Appearing emotional, though some observers noted a lack of visible tears, she stuck to her final story. She was outside moving her car and smoking when she saw a flash of light through her glass door. Rushing inside, she found Gavin screaming and crying, the gun on the floor, and Destiny unresponsive on the couch. I couldn't fucking believe what was going on, she testified. During a tense cross-examination, prosecutors relentlessly picked apart her inconsistencies, confronting her with her earlier lies, the surveillance footage, the GSR on her clothes, and the timeline of the 911 call. You do understand the gunshot residue was found on your clothing, correct? The prosecutor asked. Robin attributed it to trying to help Destiny. Ma'am, I was not in my right mind at that time, she insisted. I had just seen my baby shoot my daughter. I don't ever want it to be Gavin, ma'am. I don't want him to live with this. Do you not understand that? Testimony from law enforcement officers painted a picture of Robin's demeanor as unusually calm and detached in the immediate aftermath of the shooting. One officer recalled finding her on the phone when he arrived, simply pointing towards Destiny when asked if anyone was hurt. Another described her reaction to being told her daughter had died as not typical of a grieving parent. Forensic evidence regarding gunpowder stippling on Destiny's wound indicated the gun was fired from a few inches up to a couple of feet away, a range that didn't definitively exclude either Robin or theoretically Gavin, if he were indeed holding the weapon. The defense emphasized that gunshot residue was found on Gavin's clothes as well, arguing this supported their theory. However, the prosecution countered that even if Gavin had pulled the trigger, Robin's negligence in leaving a loaded gun accessible to a toddler, combined with her extensive cover-up, made her criminally responsible. The case, with its labyrinth of conflicting stories and emotional testimonies, was handed to the jurors. Despite the complexity and the gravity of the charges, their deliberation was remarkably swift. After just 2 hours, a mere blip in the nearly 5 years since Destiny Oliver's death, the jury returned with their verdict. Robin Hoington was found guilty, but not of felony murder as initially charged. Instead, the jury convicted her of the lesser-included offense of reckless homicide. They also found her guilty on 2 counts of aggravated child neglect, guilty of initiating a false report to a law enforcement officer, guilty of tampering with evidence, and guilty of attempted tampering with evidence. The speed of the verdict suggested the jury found a clear path through the deceptions, likely concluding that while Robin may not have intentionally killed her daughter, her reckless actions and subsequent cover-up were undeniable. A little more than a month later, Robin Hoington stood before Judge Scott Green for sentencing. The judge's words were sharp and unequivocal. "I really don't know how you could have made this much worse than what you did that night," he told her. "You're not concerned. You weren't then. You're not now. You're not concerned with trying to protect Gavin. You're concerned with trying to protect Gavin's mother." He sentenced Robin Hoington to 22 years in prison. "A firearm and your handling of that firearm is the reason that your daughter is not here now," Judge Green stated. "You're the one responsible." As the verdict made her a convicted felon, her bond was revoked, and she was taken into custody in handcuffs. During the sentencing phase, Destiny's father, Antoine Oliver, delivered a powerful victim impact statement that shed even more light on the troubled family dynamics. He described Destiny as the best daughter and a daddy's girl, and claimed Robin was intensely jealous of their close bond. He revealed that the last time he saw Destiny alive was 2 nights before her death, when he dropped her off at Robin's. This was the occasion of the altercation where Robin pointed her gun at him, which he disarmed and threw into the yard. Pieces Daniel Callie Hensley, Robin's boyfriend, later reassembled. Antoine also detailed a history of Robin stalking him, making false police reports, including a claim he kidnapped Destiny, and uttering threats, even saying she knew someone okay with killing a child. Perhaps the most shocking revelation from Antoine, supported by court documents he later obtained, was that at the time of Destiny's death, Robin Hoington did not have legal sole custody of her children. In October 2017, due to Robin's documented drug issues and failed drug tests while pregnant with her youngest, a court had awarded full custody of both Destiny and Gavin to Robin's own mother. Antoine himself only learned of this in March 2019, shortly before Destiny's death, when he began his own efforts to seek custody. The children were supposed to be under their grandmother's supervision at all times, not in Robin's sole care. This crucial piece of information, if known by the jury, might have painted an even darker picture of Robin's desperation and potential motives. The case of Destiny Oliver is a profound tragedy. A 5-year-old girl lost her life, not to a phantom intruder or an enraged ex-partner, but as a result of a loaded gun left accessible in a home filled with turmoil and deceit. Her mother, whose lies unraveled under scrutiny, will spend over 2 decades in prison. For those who love Destiny, no verdict or sentence can erase the pain. It's a somber testament to the devastating consequences of negligence, the destructive power of lies, and the irreplaceable loss of a young life cut short.